Buddy, I do not know what you did to the tire gods to deserve the last week. I mean, 2 flat tires last week, and then you got to tell everyone what happened to you yesterday.
Well, I got another flat tire. I woke up.
Yeah, of course you did.
So last week was on my wife's car. She was driving. Not that it matters. This week, my car. I wasn't driving though, so I take no responsibility.
Nor should you.
I came down to it in the morning and it had a flat. That being said, it was still a pretty darn good day. So, if that's
I'm wondering if it's the tire gods you upset, or if it was the relationship gods in bringing up who was driving your wife's car.
You're absolutely right. That's karma for me throwing her under the bus. No, all things being said, it happened on a Sunday. I was by myself. It was a beautiful sunny day. Happened right in my parking lot. Could have been so much worse. The day before, I was driving that car with my daughter. Took her to hockey. We drove all around the city. No flat tire.
On the windiest day of the year.
Windiest day of the year. There was like a freak rainstorm later that night. It could have happened at any of those times, and it would have sucked. Been a big headache. Side of the highway. Nope, it happened. Beautiful sunny day. The parking lot was dry, so I didn't have any problems like crawling out of the car. Didn't get muddy or nothing.
See, your positivity is almost annoying, but it is. You put a good spin on this, yes.
It's hard not to be. I don't know what else to say, really. It was a 45-minute inconvenience. While I was doing that, literally, I was in the parking lot and right beside the dumpster, and a guy a few years younger than me, maybe mid-20s, hopped into our garbage can and was pulling out bottles. So,
yeah,
I've a bad day.
Oh,
my life is still a pretty fucking good day. Excuse my language.
Yeah, you're putting a ton of positive spin on this.
You got to.
Welcome everybody to the Walk Off. Thank you so much for listening. We've got a heck of a guest today, Semro Burst. Now, he is an international free agent the Jays picked up in 2019 when he was 17 years old. He's out of Zeist, Netherlands. And we talked to him, what was it? Probably Wednesday last week, I think it was. This kid, for a 19-year-old, my God, does he know pitching? It was so great, the talk that we had. And if you're listening, by the way, on Apple and Spotify, if you've got any up-and-coming pitchers in the family, maybe a 12 or 13-year-old type of thing that's looking to improve his baseball acumen, this is on YouTube, and he actually starts to show us his pitch grips. So he kind of goes into spin rate efficiency. He starts to go into how to throw a changeup, the power finger, just some really cool stuff. So you can check that out on video on YouTube, the Walk Off Podcast. Obviously, if you subscribe, we are eternally grateful.
Yes, no kidding.
And if not, well, just continue to listen, and who cares about the kid in your family that's coming up as a pitcher, right?
No kidding.
Okay, so we've got, we'll get to Sem in about 30 to 40 minutes here. We've got a big announcement we're going to do in just a couple seconds here. We're also going to talk the Jays picking up the option on Charlie Montoya. We're going to talk the fact that Shapiro is looking to extend Ross Atkins. We're going to talk the starting rotation. We're going to get into what kind of the Jays need to do with their young core to take the next step forward. All of that's coming up here. I'm Scott Belford.
I'm Adam Mack.
This is Adam Mack. All right, buddy. Should we announce our big announcement?
Let's do it. Take the lead on this.
Okay, so we are very excited to announce that we've been picked up by a sports radio network out of New York. We're going to be available still with the podcast. We're going to move the podcast from Monday to Fridays. Our radio show is going to air every single Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 4 here in Alberta. And it will kind of go right into that Tuesday Jays game. So we'll kind of be the pregame show for those of you who are fans of the walk-off type of thing.
If you need a break from Sportsnet.
If you need a break from Sportsnet, we're going to be playing. So it's 2 opportunities for you to hear us every single week now, which is fantastic. And it's kind of exciting just to be on a radio network.
Yeah.
It's cool.
So Tuesdays will act kind of as like, I guess, like a recap from the previous weekend and a preview of the week ahead. And then with the podcast show moving to Fridays, that'll act as a weekend preview, I suppose.
Exactly.
So.
And more of what you've come to expect sort of thing. 365 Sportscast is the name of the network. There's an app you can get for that.
Yeah, so
and,
anywhere you live, you can download
anywhere
and
you
tune
live,
in.
you can.
That's live. We'll be recording live Tuesdays at 6 with the lead into the Blue Jays. And then we are going to re-air that on YouTube the following morning. So if you're not interested in tuning in live, you'll still be able to hear our predictions and evaluations and everything like that.
And all that sort of things. Okay. We've got a busy show, so let's get into it, my man.
We got a lot to talk about.
Yes, we do. So it looks like things have started to clarify as to where the Jays are going to be for how long and when. So Dunedin looks like it's going to be extended as their home site. Probably until mid-June is kind of the talk right now. Maybe late May, and then they're going to move to Buffalo. And then the goal is all the players are vaccinated by July 1st, and Shapiro and Atkins can put another request into the Canadian government to get them home to Toronto for Canada Day. That is the dream. We'll see where things are at. Obviously, we're still in the middle of a pandemic, so
look,
things shift constantly. But
so from a Toronto Blue Jays perspective, I think that's a great idea to put out there. From a team performance perspective, I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think seeing how much it's upsetting some of the other teams. I mean, the Yankees came right out and said they don't wish to play in Dunedin. It's a minor league park.
Good news.
I think the Jays have no choice, right? So there's something about just dealing with where you're at. Toronto did it last year in Buffalo, and they killed it at Salem Field. Like they were hitting dingers all day long, every day there. And even though it's the same dimensions to every single team that goes in there, there's a little bit of a mental block when you're a road team going into this Dunedin Stadium, right? So I think it does benefit the Jays. For now, there's nothing they can do. And you don't wish to be playing in Florida in mid-June. It's just too darn hot to be playing outside. So go to Buffalo. Again, it's a huge pain in the ass. Like, this is not going to be fun for the Jays, but you kind of just got to take your lumps and do it.
So what do the players do then? Do they just live out of a hotel for 2 months and then another hotel for 2 months and then another hotel for the rest of the season? Like, that's what I don't like. I don't like the idea that our guys can't buy an apartment, can't move in anywhere and settle in.
That's exactly what they're dealing with.
Doesn't feel nice. Like, I would rather see us just play in Dunedin all year long. The thought of playing in 3 home stadiums means we have 0 home stadiums.
It's all revenue, man. That's the thing, is you can't fit a lot of people in Dunedin. As it is, how many people can go in there is regulated. They're operating at, I think it was 15%, maybe it's 20%. As vaccinations increase, the amount of people allowed in these stadiums is going to increase.
Why don't we just rent
There's
out like
not a lot of seats.
We should just rent out like a high school stadium in Texas and go at full capacity. Have you seen some of these ballparks in Texas, man? They care more about their college athletes than their pro athletes. It's crazy down there.
It's so true. It's so true. I think that's another reason why they would move to Buffalo, is that by June, they're hoping that they can actually put 50% capacity into Salem Field. And there's just so many more seats there. You know, like, same with moving to Toronto. Like, they might not even be able to go to Toronto until, who knows, man? It might even be September. And if that's the case, you're like, well, why wouldn't you just play it out? Again, it's all about how many people you can fit in there. They're even distancing. Even if they're at 25% of Rogers Center, you're still going to be able to put 15,000 people in there in comparison to 5 at Salem Field and 2,500 at Dunedin, right? So it is what it is. Now, the Jays also picked up Charlie Montoya's option for 2022. So he is going to remain the manager for the next year and a half at least. I don't think that's surprise. I don't know about
Will
you.
he?
It didn't surprise me.
Does this mean anything? I don't know.
It doesn't really mean anything.
All it
I mean,
means
it's
is we don't want to have the questions asked all year long. Is he going to be returning? Right? This just is like, look, he's our guy, but what's it really mean? If things go sideways, it's nothing to cut him loose.
that's true. I don't think there's much that can happen this year that would see Montoya lose his job next year.
No.
You know what? Even a face plant, I don't know if they would move Montoya at this point.
The only way they move Montoya is if, I mean, we've had Greg Zahn on the show a few times now, and he's pointed it out. He's like, Montoya is the perfect puppet level manager for Shapiro and Atkins. Those are the guys that are making the calls on, take this pitcher out, put this guy in. Here's the lineup for today. And he just writes it on the paper for them, right? The only way he gets tossed is if he decides to go against what they want to do. That's it. Wins or losses.
I agree.
It's their baby. And as long as he's doing what they think is best, he's going to have a job.
Now, they brought him in as a softer touch for the kids. It was they felt like they had to get rid of Gibbons, new generation coming up. I can see them getting rid of him at the end of 2022 if it seems like they need maybe more of a player's manager by that time, like a guy that can operate around these big egos. Like maybe by the end of 2022, we're dealing with not a bunch of potential, but a bunch of actual superstars.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
So we may need a different approach at that point if they haven't won a World Series.
Right.
But I mean, honestly, if they're in the playoffs the next 2 years, even then, how do you get rid of Montoya? Especially if they go to something like the ALCS. And you're like, well, was it Montoya's fault, or is it another scenario where this is the way Atkins and Shapiro had the team set up? He played it exactly like it was set up, and it just didn't go where they wanted it to, and they're going to give it another go and move some players around. We'll see.
The White Sox method, and we go find an old Hall of Famer that's, overtly racist and has a drinking problem, and we bring him in. That'll work, right?
Who'll throw caution to the wind and get behind the wheel of a vehicle no matter what's going on.
Do you know who I am? He'll say. Do you know who I am? Anyway, sorry. We're getting off topic, and we got a lot to talk about. So let's get back to it.
Well, we're talking of the front office for the Jays here. There's a lot of talk about Ross Atkins getting a new contract. He's in contract talks with Shapiro right now. Of course, they're buds.
That's going to happen.
It's going to happen. They're one and the same. Mm-hmm. Shapiro, Atkins. It's like you said with Montoya. Atkins is the perfect. I mean, puppet might be harsh, but team player. Right. Let's say it. Like he's not going to do anything without going through the proper channels and sitting down with their council of whatever they're doing. Right.
Absolutely
front office. Yeah. So I think we could see that happening. The other thing going on. I mean, 10 games from opening day at this point, the starting rotation is starting to come into focus here, especially with the two injuries we're dealing with. Nate Pearson has a groin pull. Looks like he's not going to make the opening day roster. Probably be back on the team mid-April. They're not going to push him. Nice thing with his injury is it's not an arm thing. We'll actually get into Nate Pearson in a second here. Thomas Hatch has an injury. His was scary, man, because he threw a pitch and he screamed and grabbed his elbow, which right away, I mean, knock on wood.
It was the kind of sound that my dog makes when I step on his paw in the kitchen.
Yeah, it was not pretty. And you always worry about that because it's always Tommy John whenever something like that happens. Now, they say that it's mild inflammation going on right now, and they're looking further into it. So fingers crossed that it's actually just a mild strain and that he's back mid-April. But both of those are starting pitching options that are no longer options. So what are we looking at right now? I mean, Ryu is the mainstay. There's no way that he's not at the top of the rotation. There's no way he doesn't start opening day. So that's settled. Robbie Ray has looked incredible. I mean, his last spring outing, he was hitting 98 regularly. It's the middle of March. You got to love seeing that sort of velocity out of him. He hasn't pitched with that sort of velocity since 2017, his all-star season. So, again, spring is spring. What do? It's means nothing, but it means something.
Yeah. This is true.
And you can say the same thing about Steven Matz. Matz has looked phenomenal. I don't know what Pete Walker is doing with these two lefties, but it looks good. So far, the locks in the rotation, and I think every single Jays fan out there can agree that Ryu, Ray, and Matz, their three left-handers, are for sure in this rotation.
Yes.
They've pitched too well not to be. They went out and got Ray and Matz for this exact reason. I think Ross Stripling is a lock.
Do you?
Because they need a righty in there at some point.
Okay.
I don't know if you go Ryu, Stripling, Ray. You want to break up the lefties a little bit. And then that number 5 spot in the rotation is the question mark. I think it's going to be Tanner Roark.
He just got blown up yesterday.
He got blown up yesterday.
But it's spring training, so.
But it is spring training. And it's so funny, man. Watching the reaction on Blue Jays Twitter, I loved it so much. It's exhausting, but man, when they put Roark back out there in the second inning and everyone's like, what the hell is going on? Like they pull him because of pitch count, which is all a rule. It's all spring training. Nobody cares, right? So you can obviously pull your pitcher and then put him back in, which is something that in regular season baseball is not a thing. So to watch everyone's reaction online being like, he's back! What? It's like some sort of nightmare, right? You can't literally pull Roark. You want to, and if you do, he's just going to start the next inning.
Yeah, he's like the Terminator. He just keeps coming back.
So I truly do believe that this is his spot to lose. I think he's going to start. I think he's going to start the season in that 5th hole no matter what. I do think that even though he's being paid $12 million a year, the Jays are in win now mode. So I don't think they're going to give him until June to have an 8 ERA. I think that if he's not pitching where they'd like him to, that there's a lot of depth in this organization and that they will start bringing guys up and seeing how they fare. Trying to put together a quality rotation. So some of these guys, it's like Trent Thornton is a real interesting candidate here because he missed last year because of elbow chips, right? He had surgery to get some scar tissue removed. He's healthy again. He's feeling the best he has since 2019. And a lot of people might forget he pitched the most innings for this team in 2019. I mean, it was a god-awful rotation, but he put up 150 innings.
Yeah, I mean,
if he's made a step forward, that's great. Like if Trent Thornton can come in and pitch around a 4 ERA, that's what we're after. And I think that's what they're after for whoever's in that 5th spot. If you can be around a 4, even a 4.5, if you don't go in there and get blown up, if you can go in there and fill up the strike zone, that's what we're after for our 5th hole in this rotation.
I mean,
like yesterday watching Roark, the most frustrating thing was watching him miss his spots. Watching him walk guys or getting down in the count. Like, man, the amount of 3-1 fastballs right down the center he threw. It's why they were hitting him so hard. They'd just wait for him to get down in the count and then they'd sit on a fastball. Hitting 101.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've said it before, we'll say it again. The Jays don't have the best starting rotation, but the hitters are hitters and we got a good bullpen, so
and they do have a really good bullpen. And you know what? We'll see what happens with Anthony Kay and TJ Zoik and Julian Merriweather. They do have a lot of options to bring up if guys are blowing up, and I think they are going to – I think it is going to be a rotating door of starters, even if there aren't injuries. I think they're going to try really hard to find a rotation out of all these depth starters. But time will tell.
How long do you think until our friend Joey Murray gets the call?
June.
June? You think so? Okay.
That's my prediction is June.
I was texting with him the other day after reading that MLB article that he's the what is it, number 4 in all of spring training for spin rate on his fastball and number 1 spin rate on his curveball.
So crazy.
So I was texting with him about that, and he acknowledged. He says, "Yeah, the one thing I really got to work on at the start of the year is my control. I got to hit the strike zone more." So
yeah,
hopefully, if he can do that. maybe by June he's ready to go. So
Agreed. While we're talking pitching, let's talk. Here's the thing with this Blue Jays team, right? Is if they are going to be contenders this year, if they are going to be a playoff team this year, we're going to need to see this core of young players make another step forward. They did it last year. It's why they made the playoffs last year. I know they were extended, but they still were ahead of schedule. And if we're going to see the same thing this year, we are going to need to see more progress from that young core. The big ones that we're talking about here, Nate Pearson is on that list, man. So there's a few things I want to talk about Nate here. Number one, I want to quash some of the panic going on
nice word.
with his injury problems. Thank you.
Is that a real word?
Quelch?
Quelch?
Is that
I don't know.
Either way,
I don't
we're
know
not
that it's a real word, but I still get your point. So I should just shut up.
No. I'm glad that you're bringing up my lack of English skills here. This is perfect. So Nate Pearson, everyone's worried about how injury prone he has been. But the truth of the matter is, when it comes to Blue Jays fans, I think we're suffering a little bit of PTSD from Aaron Sanchez. Okay? Like, this is a guy who was the big stud in the Jays system back in 2013-14. He made huge progress in 2015. Remember, everybody, he was on an innings count. They moved him to the bullpen. He was very instrumental in that ALCS appearance that the Jays had in 2015 that everyone was so excited about. And then he could not stay healthy for the life of him. And it was all arm injuries. It was all finger injuries. It was elbow inflammation. I mean, Sanchez just could not keep it together. I want to go over Nate Pearson's injuries here because everyone's panicking about it, and I don't think it's quite as detrimental and quite as bad as everyone thinks it is. Okay, so this is what he looked like in 2017. 110 innings pitched between college and minor league ball, and he was healthy that year. 2018, he had 22 innings pitched, but he had a broken arm from a comebacker. Now, yes, that sucks, okay? But that's not a ligament. That is a total fluke accident. It's like getting hit in the hand when you're a hitter in the batter's box, right? Like, yeah, you miss your time and that sucks and it is an injury and you got to count it, but
it's not the same.
Like, it's not the same. It's not his body we're talking about. 2019, he was healthy the whole year, pitched 102 innings. 2020, weird year last year. Okay?
Weird for
60-game season for everybody. He pitched 20 innings. And remember, he missed 35 games. So yes, in a 60-game season, he missed half the season, but it felt longer than it really was, right? Like, he missed 5 starts.
Came back for the playoffs and looked great.
Came back for the playoffs and he looked great, okay? This year, yes, he did get injured again. Right groin. This is a typical spring training injury.
Right.
The groin gets injured on lots of guys.
Just warming up.
And he's warming up. He pulled a groin. It's not the end of the world. He did have a little bit of a setback, but he is going to be back in April. It wasn't an arm injury. I think the panic is a little unwarranted because I know there's a lot of Jays fans out there that are just like hands on head, like, do we move him to the bullpen? Like, the guy can't stay healthy. Let's not get ridiculous yet. Okay.
I know.
We'll see where he's at the end of the year.
I've already been reading the comments that are like, oh, well, let's just move on to Alek Manoah. He's our next.
Yeah.
He's our next guy instead. Like, you're right. Let's calm down a little bit. He'll be fine.
He's going to be fine. And when it comes to Nate Pearson, I think the big thing this year is we see 100 to 120 innings out of him. And I think we're going to.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right.
If this is a World Series contender, I think the perfect scenario is what happened to Aaron Sanchez in 2015, right? So Nate comes back. We keep an eye on him. He starts back in the starting rotation mid-April. He's pitching 4 to 5 innings a game. Ramp him up till he's pitching 6 to 7. Reevaluate come the All-Star break in July. See where his pitch counts at. If his pitch counts at 60 or 70 innings by mid-July, maybe you consider moving him to the bullpen at that point.
Just to slow him down on the inning count, eh?
Like, just to slow him down, because he did only pitch 22 innings last year, even though it was a shortened season. And I mean, we're going to be watching this with a lot of pitchers across baseball. I think there's going to be a lot of organizations that are kind of keeping an eye on inning caps on guys, because last year was such an anomaly of a year and nobody got their work in like they normally would.
I think you're absolutely right. I think.
And the last thing for Nate, I think, as long as, like, so of course, there's stats for everything in baseball, but this kind of stood out to me. Pearson needs to start. I mean, this is just baseball 101. He needs to start filling up the strike zone. The guy throws 100 miles an hour, and he was tied for the second worst command strikes thrown in baseball last year. Again, 22 innings.
Right.
But he throws 100 miles an hour. Put it in the strike zone, Nate. You know, like,
right down the pipe, they're still not going to hit it.
Most aren't,
Absolutely.
you know, and the guys that are literally sitting fastball and starting their swing early. So it's almost luck, you know?
Absolutely.
So I think if Nate can do that, I think it's a successful season. I want to move on to Alondro Kirk. I know last episode you put out there that for asset management, it's unlikely that he starts the season opening day with the Blue Jays.
Okay.
The big reason for that is that Reese McGuire would be put on waivers if that's the case, and somebody's going to pick him up. So do the Jays wish to lose McGuire? And I know there's a billion Jays fans out there that are like, who gives a shit about Reese McGuire? And maybe that's fair. I am going to go the other way on this, man. And we'll see what happens. I think he is going to make this team on opening day. I think that they are going to reward his hard work. They sent a nutritionalist down to Mexico with him for 3 weeks over the off season. He lost 20 some pounds. He's in the best shape of his career. He's hitting, again, I know spring training doesn't matter, but he's still hitting 500. You know, he's putting his bat, he's barreling every ball pretty much that he's able to get to. It's very impressive what he's doing. And another little tidbit here, he has been paired with Robbie Ray every single outing since they acquired Ray last year at the trade deadline. Ray has come out and said he loves the kid. He thinks he calls a great game and he likes the way he catches. And I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. Obviously, neither of us are actually connected with that front office at all. So we can't, we're just guessing like everybody else. It's all speculation.
You know, I'm starting to come around on the idea too that, you know, you've said it before. Reese McGuire's out of options, so if we send him down, there's a good chance he's going to get picked up. I mean, he's a prospect. He's a left-hitting catcher, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
If we lose him for nothing, that's going to suck. But also, what would we realistically be able to get back for him anyways? I don't know. Probably not much.
A low ranking lottery ticket, basically.
Maybe a late round draft pick.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
the Blue Jays are stacked at catching prospects. That's something that not everybody's aware of. I mean, we got Alejandro Kirk, who made a name for himself last year, but we've also got Gabriel Moreno and Riley Adams.
Yeah.
Who both look like, you know,
they're going to be major league catchers.
Pretty high. So,
yeah.
Excited for both of those guys to get rid of Danny Jansen for once and for all. Sorry.
I mean, you know what? I'm fine with Danny Jansen as our backup catcher. Everyone seems to like him. Like, there's a reason he's there. I really believe this front office obviously sees more in him than we do.
Maybe he's just a good guy in the clubhouse. There's value in that too, but
there is value in that for sure. So we'll see where Alondro winds up, but I think he's going to start the season with the Jays. And I think he's going to have, you know, everyone's talking like, oh, Vladdy MVP, Kirk Rookie of the Year. Let's pump the gas a little bit here. But yes, both of them are looking very good in spring training. I think Bo Bichette needs to take another big step forward for this team to be a real contender this year. Out of curiosity, and I know you've got the show notes, so you might have already cheated and seen this, but how many major league games do you think Bo Bichette has played at this point? This might surprise some listeners.
Well, I would say 180 to 200 games.
75 games he has played.
That's absurd.
So he hasn't even played an actual half season yet. So we are now listen, in that time, he's been 30% better than the average hitter at the plate. Power numbers supported by strong StatCast metrics. He's improved his strikeout rate to better than league average last year. After a poor finish, though, he was disappointed about it. So he hit the weights. He's gained a little bit of weight. He's more muscular. We'll see how this plays out. He hasn't found his swing yet this year. Who cares? I'm not worried about Bo Bichette. However, we do need to see him take another step forward if this is an actual World Series contending team. If they're a playoff team, we need to see Bo Bichette continue to at least put up the numbers he was last July, August before he got injured there.
Especially as I don't want to say below average defensive shortstop, but
yeah. As an average, at least an average.
All the excitement of him as a young superstar revolves around his bat, not around his ability at shortstop. So,
yeah. Now, speaking of glove, it's funny because both of us are big Cavan Biggio fans.
Yes, sir.
We can't help but pump his tires. The kid is just so versatile. You really think there's not a position he can't play. Now, he was put in left field yesterday. Yes. This is the first time I've seen him play a position where I was like, ooh. I mean, here's the thing with Biggio. I truly do believe if you put him at left field for 10 to 20 more times, he's fine. But yesterday afternoon was the first time that he looked uncomfortable at a position. But if he can't play left field, he can't play left field. Big deal. Like, he's fine at center. He's good at right. He plays first. He plays second. He's looked amazing at third base. Like, I honestly thought that we would be talking about, can he play third base in spring training, because it's a brand new position to him. He's looked phenomenal. Great arm strength.
Absolutely.
Like, he fires that ball across the field, no problem at all. And he's a skinnier guy. So I'm not worried about third base. So if we can't play him at shortstop and left field, I guess we just survive, right? Like,
honestly, I mean, this is just me being silly here, but I feel like he's just bad at left field on purpose. I think he could win a Gold Glove out there. I think he just doesn't want to play left field. I think he's having so much fun at third base. It's like when my wife asks me to clean the bathroom, I just do a bad job so that she just goes, never mind, I'll just do it myself. I think that's what he's doing. He's like, I'm not good at left field. You don't want to waste your time with me out here. So
in this scenario, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. is your wife. Yes.
Yes, and we're very happy together.
All right. So that's our Jays talk for the show. There was one last thing that I wanted to touch on here before we call it a wrap and throw to Sem Roberts. And that is the Kansas City Royals. And, buddy, I know I made a prediction a couple weeks ago. It was my long shot prediction that the Kansas City Royals are actually a good team this year and grab one of those wild card spots. They just signed their veteran catcher, Salvador Perez, to a 4-year, $82 million deal. Now, obviously, Perez, one of the best catchers in the league back in 2015 when they won the World Series. The guy has been a mainstay in that Royals clubhouse for years. I like that the Royals are going for it. Okay, they're actually trying to win, which is something you can't say for every organization in baseball. In fact, it's something you can't say for about 2/3 of the organizations in baseball. Kansas City is a small market, so you got to love to see them do this. The thing I don't know if I like is they just gave the biggest contract in team history to a 32-year-old catcher. Now, there's something to be said for signing a wily veteran catcher. I mean, the Jays did it in 2013 when they picked up Russell Martin around the same age, and look at what he did for the Jays in 2015, 2016. He was a huge part of that ALCS run in both years. It's just, oh man, there's something about having a catcher locked up until he's 37. It's just,
it's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. How do you feel about it?
If the Jays did it, I wouldn't be thrilled. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
It's money better spent elsewhere, but I don't know.
But I am excited to see how the Royals do this year. I mean, showing that kind of faith in a guy that has been there for so long, I think that's really good for an organization. So there are benefits to this.
It worked out great when we signed Vernon Wells to the 6th largest contract in MLB history, didn't it?
There are tons of examples we could bring up here that would say the Royals are crazy, but the fact that they are a small time franchise that is trying to win, you got to give them respect, and I'm cheering for them.
Yeah, absolutely. If nothing else, it's nice to see small market teams going for it because they don't always get the chance. So you got to.
They don't always get the chance.
Every opportunity.
Absolutely. All right, my man. Thank you so much. Always enjoy talking ball with you, and we'll throw to old Sam Roberts here.
Sounds good.
Enjoy, everybody.
See you Monday.
Thanks for listening. Cheers.